it will get better if you just start and write it down. Like if you have a past that's dark, like write it down. Like come to terms with who you are, who you were, and know that that doesn't matter anymore.
Just that.
It's just that.
It is the most pure. There's no fancy, like Avery thought there was this whole.
Oh yeah.
It's literally just them. There's no agenda other than just them being them. Granted, he could bring on the most interesting people in the world, and it's fun. It's just them. Is it running?
Yeah.
It's
running.
So the audio's good. All right, we'll just do a little start. There you go.
Hey, cheers.
Cheers.
Fuck, to launch day, huh?
It's a launch day. It's a launching aurgami.
Seems like it's been going for quite some time. I feel like, maybe to most people, it's like we've been semi-launched, at least in the eyes of like social media, but it's just, there's this overwhelming, not anxiety, just like nerves and excitement of actually like pressing live on the site.
Yeah, it's like finally releasing everything that we've been doing for over a year now.
Yeah.
And I mean, we could dive into where it all started, and well, we will dive into that and how we've gotten here. But I mean, for one, I'm just so grateful for you because I've never stuck with anything for this. Like, I've never finished anything in my mind. And for us to start, I mean, the first picture we have archived is like April 4th, but I know it started late March,
Yeah.
and like we're middle of June of 2022 now, so it's been well over a year. We finally went live at the website, the products that people could buy that'll innovate and change their lifestyle. Like, how crazy is that?
Yeah, it's wild. It doesn't even feel real, honestly. I feel like, this all was just like an idea, and I think like, I don't know, when COVID happened, it was just this like rush of like, I want to say like opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, you had this as well. Like we were both doing our own thing, and, I just know up in San Francisco, there was just so much like influence. There was so much just bad habits that I had been involved with and adopted. And I think that it's like, when we moved back to, when we moved home, it was like a realization of, wow, like we can really, really like focus on ourselves now. And I think it was like when we started doing yoga even more intensely and really taking time to like dive into self-care that, things just like opened up. And I think, as you're grateful for me, I'm grateful for you, and I'm grateful for, our other partners and opportunities and doors that opened up because of just, COVID and being forced in like a very unfortunate hand,
Mm-hmm. COVID was an accelerator for so many things. If something was going to fail or die, it died quicker.
Yeah.
And if something was ready to go, it had that rocket fuel. I think I know so many people could resonate with what we went through, but it was kind of perfect timing for both of us that we were both in spots that we thought we were doing what we wanted to do. COVID shook that up. It wasn't at all. When I was in Mammoth, you were in SF. You were working a job that you did like, but convinced yourself that you liked it more than you really wanted to. I was in Mammoth thinking that I was hot shit and that I had a job that I really liked, it was cool, but it wasn't where my heart was. And having that ability to just take a break.
Yeah.
You don't just, there's never been a time where you could just pause society. That wasn't a thing. So I think we had been exposed to self-care and yoga and a lot of these practices for a long time, and we were slowly integrating them into our lives here and there, and we understood the benefits, but life is still chaotic. We're young. We're still young.
Yeah.
We're younger and dumber there. And to literally just have this, hey, you can't leave your house because there's this plague that's going to kill people. So what are you going to do?
Yeah. Mindsets are, I mean, to your point, it's like, you either sink or swim, and a lot of people were very, I feel like COVID hit them extremely hard, and their whole lives were shaken up. Or on the positive note, it shook it up for the better, right? All that anxiety, all that stuff that was people were feeling, myself, and it just kind of channeled into that. It's like, all right, listen, like it's either sink or swim at this point, doing something that I don't even love, and I know that there's so much more out there, and just being separated from the chaotic city life was, it was like a flood of just ideas and all kinds of stuff, and then doing more self-care, it was like, okay, like this is something that's really helping. And I don't know, just like the opportunities we were given, it's just like the stars definitely aligned. But I think it was good because it was almost like we didn't have, there was risk, and there is always risk with it, but it felt like a safer risk in a sense because there was nothing to lose. Like what else are we gonna do, right? Like I ended up quitting the 9 to 5, like tech startup gig, and working with Brand Click, and just seeing what kind of like what risk and taking chances really means, right? Like Hayden just right out of college took those chances and started a company, and like being able to be a part of that, and it was like it gave almost like a confidence to us, and it's like we could do this. And so like it definitely opened the doors to be able to do more things and start things like Total, Aurgami, and really just figure out like what kind of passion we could pursue.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, Hayden and that whole story is something for another time. But aside from you, it's I just feel very fortunate that we have a friend like Hayden that really paved the trail in so many ways. Where when you see what he does, it's like it inspires you to know that if you really believe in who you are and what you want to do, you could fucking make anything happen.
Yeah.
Like there's no excuses.
Absolutely.
That's just a very fortunate position we're in, and it's something where now we get this opportunity to pay it forward.
Absolutely. And that's a good point. It's like, we're lucky to have examples like that, and also be able to take the risk, and but it really goes back to you go on Instagram, you see all these like motivational pages and all these things, and people that have done it.
3 a.m.
Yeah, like where people have done it, and they're just take the risk, and it's like it's not that easy, but in a way it kind of is that easy. You just have to be willing to make like the sacrifices, and really just like trust your gut and take the risk and be okay with failing. And the biggest thing that I think we've learned from this, and I'd like to get your opinion on this, is like it started off as just a product, and look where we are now, right? We have so much more purpose, so much more like meaning behind the actual company, and that only comes with taking action. Like we would have never gotten to this point if we never just took action and made that first like prototype. And it's just if anyone out there is looking to has a bigger goal in life, to not just be someone that works the 9 to 5, or nothing's wrong with that, but if they do have aspirations to better their lives and take risk, and just do it, there's really nothing that should hold them back. And the act of taking that first step is just going to open up a reaction of whether it's good or bad, but you're going to have to end up making more decisions and steps towards a direction. Whether it's good or bad, you're going to figure it out.
It forces you to do something, anything. And a lot of the times, almost every time, anything is better than nothing. That's not always true, but I've always been a person that's been very bad at taking action, and then sometimes I'll just take a ton of action and be impulsive, but that's why I like to surround myself with people who do things, because it kind of elevates me, it helps me to do, just get things done. And it's like when I reflect on everything up till now, because I still make so many excuses on why I don't want to do stuff, not as much, but I still do all the time. Yeah. And
it's easy.
It's the easiest thing to blow things off and to make excuses, especially as you get busier. And I think something that's really helped a lot is learning what fuels me, learning what lights me up. Because when you do those things, it's not draining, it's not tedious, it's not your 9 to 5 that makes you dread going to work and gives you anxiety before you go to bed. Like, you love it. And I only found out what I love through enduring what I hate, but I found out what I hated by just doing shit.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that articulate this much better than I can, but just do anything. Because the quicker you do something, you're going to realize, oh, that sucks.
What you like, what you don't like.
Once you get a better idea of who you're not, it helps you to figure out who you are, and you can start getting inspired. Like, I always hated those motivational speeches where some person just had some fucking story and they, maybe they got embarrassed at prom or they lost the game or something, and they go, wow, I looked in the mirror and I just light switch, and next morning I was up at 3 a.m. doing 1,000,000 squats a day. And it's like, that just never made sense to me because there's never that click. And I always thought it would be that Disney movie where, oh, okay,
yeah,
I got the superpowers now. But it could be like that for some people. I think it's so much more realistic to just go, you're not always going to feel like that 3-minute movie montage where Rocky's training for Apollo. Like, you're going to have bursts of motivation, and then it's going to fade, and you should expect that. There's cycles of emotions.
Yeah.
And understanding what you don't want and what you do want is going to help you to survive those waters. Because if you wake up motivated one morning and not motivated the next, you can at least go, all right, well, maybe I don't really feel like doing this, but I hate my current position, and I hate that more than I don't want to do this.
Absolutely. I think a good point on that too that you said is like embarrassment too. I think I was listening to that podcast I was telling you about earlier with Jay Shetty and Andrew Huberman. And it's funny you mentioned that is, they were talking about, Andrew Huberman's all about like studying, neuroscience with the, basically the nervous system, right? And he was saying how when people are actually making change, or when you are embarrassed, or it kind of goes to us wanting to post more on social media, and there's that anxiety, there's that oh, I'm embarrassed what people think. You get those feelings, and it's the nervous system basically saying like it could be something that is good for you, and until you do it and do it and do it, like growth is going to constantly it's going to constantly cause anxiety. It's going to constantly make you feel uncomfortable, but you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because if you're growing, I guess I should say, if you're not growing, that's when you get complacent. And so I think this past year, it's been really, really interesting and cool to just basically start just living in uncomfortableness, so
every day,
physically, mentally, emotionally,
it's
everything.
And it's true. Like, the nature of growth is being uncomfortable, and there's this negative stigma that we've attached to uncomfortable feelings, even anxiety. I remember this revelation I had when COVID was really in its prime, and I was living at home, and just all I had time to do was just think and journal. And it hit me that I think I was listening to a podcast too, and it clicked. It's like, anxiety isn't necessarily anxiety. It's excited energy. There's energy in you, and we misinterpret this energy as, oh my God, I gotta lessen my anxiety. Maybe I'll smoke. Maybe I'll take an SSRI. Maybe I'll take something,
or just not do it.
Yeah, or just not do it. And it's like, no, it's pushing you. We're, as a society, we're misinterpreting our emotions, and that's a real tough thing. Like, I'm burping. I'm slightly better at understanding when there's good anxiety and when there's bad, because sometimes you have anxiety because you've conditioned yourself to be like, oh, bad scenario, I don't want to deal with that, panic mode.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily excited feelings. You just have this conditioned response. And other times maybe there's a beautiful girl and you start getting those butterflies and you're like, oh God. It's like, no, that's that fuel that should push you. It's something about social media too. There is this anxiety about posting things and through all of this, and I mean, we've said we're going to do this and said we're going to do that, and we've done a lot. But there's certain things we just never started posting because we were still figuring out a lot of things along the way. Um, but something I learned throughout this whole journey is I get the most anxiety when I'm trying to post things or when I'm trying to do anything that's not me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to make a post that I feel good about that's not through my voice. And I wonder how many other people feel like that because there's this whole cookie cutter model that you have to adhere to the algorithms, which
Yeah.
it's like, I know we always talk about this, but just like, who are you? Like, do you know who you are? And if not, you could figure it out just putting out what you want to put out as opposed to what you think other people will like. And
Yeah.
it's still scary. Like,
It's very scary. I don't think we would have ever gotten to this point if it wasn't for like self-care practices. A couple of things that you talked on. It's like you really need to like how do you understand and how is anyone ever going to really figure out who they are if they don't like put pen to paper or take the time for themselves? And I saw that firsthand in San Francisco. I was just going through this kind of rat race, going to work, getting up early, and like going to work, getting off, going in. It's the easiest route to just, let's go grab a drink. And then on the weekends, any time that you want to take for yourself is just influenced by, hey, we're going to some bar, hey, we're going to go drink. And then it's super hard to say no when you have that kind of influence. And so it's like how do people start taking time for themselves? How do they build these habits to learn who they are? Where do you even start? And I think that's something that we're doing, and wasn't really the goal in the beginning of the company, but like through being put in that tough situation of trying to figure out what we want from this company, and like how do we get through pushing this forward and forward and forward, we had to lean on that to actually make it to where we are, and that ultimately shaped what the company is and the mission and everything is today. So I think it's really exciting to be able to bring in all of our personal experiences and kind of be that tie, that bridge into things that can help people.
it is exciting, and it just feels like we could do this without bullshitting anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're not experts in any of this, but we want to be better, and we've had tremendous benefits from doing it. Along the way, we want to bring in people who are experts and do want to share their voice. They want to share their platform, and we want to help promote that because our whole thing is about building a better world by building a better you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'll shout out to Blake. But he loves what we do because he thinks of it as getting better together. And I think that's where a lot of people might have barriers to entry. Maybe they have somebody they're inspired by or motivated by, but they might appear too perfect. And that's not on the influencer. It's just on kind of society of, I can never do that. I can never do that. I know people that I've always looked up to the most are the people that just seem real. It's like they're at a position I aspire to be, but they're also not perfect because no one's perfect.
Yeah.
And they could accept faults in their character. They could show humility. They could just be.
Yeah. And I think it's hard to, you see these influencers and they have all this
Influence.
this influence. They have this influence. It's like, maybe you hop into following them post, them blowing up and viralness and them basically being this status symbol of whatever topic you're trying to, implement in your life. And it's almost like scary, right? It's like, I can't do that, right? Like, where do I start? Like, I don't know how that person, got to where they are. And a lot of times some people don't even have, a lot of the time, I mean, most people don't have a group or a community to lean on. And I think that's where we were really lucky, is because we all have, very similar mindsets, and we were each going through different struggles, and we had light at the end of the tunnel, if you will, but we had each other to kind of lean on and do this stuff with. And I think that's where I think it's going to be key for us is being that resource, being the community for people, highlighting people that might be looked up to, that have greater influence, and and unpacking like what their story is and how they got there. And I can promise you it's all going to be the same message over and over, just taking action, believing in yourself, taking care of yourself. And I think that's something that, is exciting about what we're doing is, yeah, just like being that I don't know, like in our bio, the catalyst, right? Like the place to start, helping people get their start and take that first step, dip their toe in.
Mm-hmm. Just doing something, anything really, because if you just experience something even once, that experience could be a lifelong lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And you really never know. But I know Jordan Peterson has some just cold, calculated opinions on all of this. It's like, just make a plan and do something, anything. Like, set a goal, make a plan. Even if it's not exactly what you want, you will figure something out along the way, and you will become better. And you'll like, we're all plagued with, for one, no one knows what life is. Like, if we really want to get esoteric about this, all of this, it's pretty insignificant when you realize that there's infinite shit out in space.
Yeah.
And like, as much as we could get wrapped up in Chris Rock getting slapped at the Oscars, like, it's wild. It's crazy. King Richard. It's wild to think that we could get so worked up over things that really are temporary and insignificant, but they are our life, right? Mm-hmm. I forget where I heard this, but like, we can only focus on so many things, and humans are designed to focus on the local things. Because if all we did was realize that we're on a rock floating through space with the fucking sun, like, we wouldn't be able to function. So there's a purpose to be able to focus on what's going on. We have to. Mm-hmm. But to a degree. And there's also a much needed perspective. And I think a lot of that comes with having good friends that could shake you up. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing right now? You know, like, you need that. You need people to break you out of your routine and push you to do things that you want to do.
Yeah.
But you also got to be humble in that sense. And like, I know a lot of the times my ego gets in the way and it'll just flame up. And like, honestly, through meditation, through journaling, and just through practice of being closer with all of you guys, it's a lot easier to understand when I'm just being a bitch.
A lot of the times.
All the time. Every day. No, seriously, there's like a flare up every day, especially as things get, as there's more pressure, the ego pops up. But I think it's an opportunity to understand the dark side too. Like, we all have dark sides to our personality.
Oh yeah.
And learning how to craft that, how to take that's so powerful.
I think that's huge, and I think that's one of the biggest points that people need to realize is it's okay to analyze to basically think about your past. Maybe your past, or like, you're in a dark spot right now and you want to get to a good point, but you don't think that, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Just know that there is, right? Like, I was a big, massive piece of shit in college, and like, it kind of extended into SF, and just really thinking about it, it's like, there was a lot of like self-hate there, self-loathing, and like, it was really when I came to terms and started meditating and journaling and like physically writing down what I didn't like about myself, and having time to like control anger, and with meditation and stuff, where like, I would never have been able to handle what we do now, and like some of the stuff that would, like, the smallest things would set me off. And it really is, it's a slow, small, like, pebble rolling down a hill that ends up snowballing. It's like, just know and trust that, like, it will get better if you just start and write it down. Like, if you have a past that's dark, like, write it down. Like, come to terms with who you are, who you were, and know that that doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't shape who you are. It's a big part of your life, but you can ultimately be even better of a person because of that. Because a lot of people that don't have a dark past or don't have any sort of thing that they can grow from will never get to a certain point because of that. And I think that it's not saying that you have to have a dark past to like change and become really good and all, but just know if you do, don't let that hold you back.
Mm-hmm. I think everyone has darkness. If you don't, you're lying or you're oblivious. And I think that's where everyone's superpower comes from. The universe is balanced in every single way. And there's a reason why those principles, those concepts, the yin and the yang, the whatever else, but it's every single religion, every single society,
heaven, hell,
everything is about balance. And there's a reason for that. It's because everything is balanced. Like, you cannot have good without bad. You can't have light without the dark. If you've had traumas in your past, I firmly 100% believe that you can take those and with that energy, with that momentum, take it to the opposite. If you've experienced the depths of hell, well, you can help other people realize how amazing heaven is.
Mm-hmm.
It's
or how to get out of that spot.
Exactly. Like there's beautiful lessons in everything. And I think that's why the underdog or the people that typically rise so quickly with their stories, it's like, it's really boring. Someone's like, yeah, I grew up in Minnesota and I was in the suburbs and I got straight B's and it was really good. Mom and dad were happy. Loved Little League and went to college, got a good degree. And things have been okay. Things have been good, you know?
Nothing wrong if you're in Minnesota.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But that's really boring.
Yeah.
And I could shift that as somebody realizing, oh my God, I live a very boring life. I don't like living like this anymore. I want to do something. I'll also say, if that's what makes you happy, like not trying to just put anything in a box or slander that at all, but the best things often come from the worst events.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think that there's just like a whole concept of purpose and finding oneself. Like to your point, if it is someone from Minnesota or anywhere that they just have a nice, comfortable life, nothing's wrong with that. But I still think that there is stuff to be learned and from journaling, meditation, yoga. Who knows, that person that's comfortable in that suburb, living a nice, cozy life, when they start writing things down, when they start actually looking into it, maybe they realize they aren't.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe they realize like that's exactly the life they want to live,
True.
And it reaffirms them.
Yeah, it reaffirms it.
Yeah, I guess really going into how we're looking to bridge everything we've learned and all the experts we're getting involved with to the masses, it is about these, it boils down to habits, these actionable steps. Meditating is an action. It's also a way that you can focus. Like it's literally an exercise to strengthen your ability to focus. And people don't really think about that. Journaling, which I always think about, it's literally a conversation with yourself, which often is the most insightful thing you can do. Breath work, your breathing regulates every element of your existence. Like every part of your physiology is tied to how you breathe. I notice, like, I mean, you've been friends with me forever. Same with you, Austin.
Mm-hmm.
You've always
Austin's
known.
our Jamie.
Austin's off camera. I've always been the most stressed out little ball of anxiety ever. And I notice now when I do get in those fits, well, first thing is my breathing's all like shallow. And if you literally just slow down and regulate,
that's why doctors say, take a deep breath. It literally has something to do, like physiologically
speaking. But no one ever talks about that. It's like I've always been upset because when people say, "Oh, just calm down, take a breath." Mm-hmm. Fuck you! Like, what the hell does that mean? What do you mean, take a deep breath? But when you realize what a deep breath does, or if you spend 30 seconds slowing down your breathing, maybe 4 seconds in, hold, 4 seconds out, hold, you're going to feel a lot better. Going back to how we think or how we've experienced the power of self-care, it's not about getting rid of any, like we're drinking right now, but that's fine. It's learning to live with moderation. But I always like to think, imagine a world where somebody, rather than going through a very traumatic time, having an anxiety attack, whatever list of traumas could happen, rather than going to the bar, going to the needle, popping the pills.
Yeah, they go to
What
the
if you could spend
meditations.
5 minutes breathing, and that brings you back to a calm state? You could reevaluate what's going on, and like think about the change of life, and the medical industry will change. Like
Yeah,
it's intrinsic in us to be able to heal ourselves, but there's a lot of people out there that may not relay the message in the most palatable way, and it's kind of off-putting to people, where it's really sad.
Yeah. I mean that leads into a really good point of there is science behind all of it, right? And I think that there's a huge community whom we love and we're learning from that have this kind of, woo-woo effect on people, right? And in that same podcast with Andrew Huberman, he even mentioned it. He's like, he was talking about, I think it was breathing or something, and he's like, I know it sounds a little bit of little woo-woo, but it's like, no, it's like, neurologically, it like actually is science. And so like a lot of this is, there's completely different spectrums. And I think a lot of the stuff that we do and we are doing is on like the far right, being like way too hippy dippity, right? And that's our goal and job, to bring it to people that have no idea when we say meditation or yoga or journaling and stuff, a lot of people are like, why would I ever do that? And so that's something we're very excited about, is being able to be that bridge to people and, normalize self-care and bring self-care to the masses and, make it less, I don't know, like just destigmatize actually taking care of yourself beyond just going to the gym. And like there's so much more to do than just like reading and going to the gym and eating healthy. Like there's a lot of stuff you can do, which we've learned and have come to start practicing and implementing into habits in our lives, where I've completely changed. I'm like 1,000% of a different person. And I, don't want to speak for you, but I know you have too. And it's pretty cool.
It is, like, going back to what you said a little bit earlier about how what you can handle on a daily basis is significantly more. It's like, I get that. Honestly, being around you has significantly inspired and raised my level of capability. And it's like, what I do on a day-to-day now blows my mind, because I couldn't even dream of doing this a year ago, let alone 2 or 3 or 4.
Oh, like, yeah.
It's wild how it's this incremental creep into just growing your abilities, and you get addicted, because as much as I'm proud of what I could do today, it's nothing compared to what I want to do and where I want to be. And I know same to you. And it's like another thing, going back to what you said, like people would say, why would I want to do yoga, meditate? It's like, well, when you get excited about things and you want to, you figure out who you are, and you want to build shit, you want to build your empire, you want to change the world, well, you need energy. Yeah. You need to be at the best version of yourself. And it's going to be really hard to do that if you're spending every night at the bars getting the worst sleep possible and being grumpy. Like, you want to figure out, why do I have these triggers? Why do I feel this way? How can I be better? And it's this slow awareness. A lot of people say awakening. And I think people get held up in this idea that the world is crazier than ever. The world is better than ever by a long shot. Easiest example is, you don't have Vikings running through the streets with axes trying to like pillage your village. Things are a lot better than they used to be, as chaotic as they are. And more than ever, people are open and loving. Sometimes that gets taken out of proportion. But I think we're in a time where people know deep down that something's off, and they want to go back to living a life of alignment, whatever that means, but living in an interdependent society, something where we can be who we want to be and lift each other up and do things, anything that's positive to the world.
Yeah, I think we like, the reason it seems so like we're in the worst time in a very long time is because of like social media
Netflix.
and I love Netflix, but Netflix no, but it really is this kind of polarization of the media and whatnot. And I think it's very easy to just like, have this really shitty world portrayed. But, I think there's a lot of good that actually is still happening. And um, yeah, I think that, I don't know. I think that like, I don't really know where I'm going with that.
I mean, it probably just comes from us always knowing that we've wanted to do something bigger, and I mean, we've been chatting about this since we were kids. We've
hmm
always wanted to do more, and we've always felt that we could be more, but we've struggled to figure out how to do it. And through, I mean, honestly, yoga. You brought me to my first outdoor yoga class, like just through these little experiences, which is really how we want to be that bridge. It's just give people that push, that intro level, like, here's your taster.
hmm
Try this out. Through those, we started to realize, okay, for a brief moment, I felt different. I looked at the world different. I
Yeah.
felt more positive. I wanted to do more. And I think going back to kind of the storyline of how we got here right now, brings me back to like August or September of last year, where for a long time it was just the total, and it's a brilliant idea. As much hard shit as I gave you along the way, it was always a brilliant idea. Um, but it was something where we wanted to take that total and build a product that can inspire people and create communities around that. We realized like the
Wasn't just
total
gonna
was
be the tower, yeah.
such a tiny facet of the larger picture we were trying to create, and that's where we came up with the origami. That's where we came up with the idea of community and the content, and like it
hmm
just, I mean, that's 9 months ago now when we really started, but it always came from this deep, deep desire where you'll hear people, maybe a famous actor or an athlete, say like, I don't know, deep down, just something pulled me that I know I needed to do this,
Yeah,
and
it was a feeling.
it was a feeling we've always had where it's this intersection of we want to do it because it's fun, like we love it, and there's also the added benefit of we truly like really believe that this could help a lot of people.
Yeah,
Whether it does or not, we believe it.
yeah, and it did. I mean, right out of college, just that was the first summer I really started doing yoga was in Dana Point at that park, and it was before going to San Francisco, and it honestly like the first time I ever did it, I was like hooked. It was like, okay, this makes you feel incredible, and going up to San Francisco, I just kind of continued to do that, and while I didn't join any really really like holistic or like you know deep studios in the sense. It was more like core power stuff. It still made me feel incredible, right? And we had this group up there that would just constantly go, and it was a great workout. And then I started doing like just journaling and Headspace was absolutely huge in getting me into meditation and like shout out Headspace, use you every day. And
Partnership.
partnership. And so it was like a natural progression from yoga to, oh, I feel pretty good. Like I'm a little bit more mentally clear, being more open to meditation and, becoming a better person through meditation and then being more open to journaling. And it's just like this like trickle down waterfall effect of, just getting started on one of those practices. And it made me feel incredible. And then, coming back here, I kind of lost touch with it. And then coming back here, during COVID, it was, something where we had all the time in the world. And, what else are we going to do? So we just dove headfirst into it and, had the idea and it didn't feel right because, we always had talked about doing so much more and having such a larger impact. And so the Total wasn't going to do that. The Total was something that could be like an infomercial type,
Having trouble carrying your mat.
Yeah. So like QVC, like Shark Tank stuff, which is like not where we're trying to go. Again, it's probably good for money, but not the impact that we wanted to have. So we all looked and over the past 9 months, just how do we really shape this? And I think a really monumental part was the last like 2 months where we weren't ready to launch, but we had this itch to like, oh, we just got to get out there. We got to try it. And we started posting on social, and it just didn't feel right. And I think it was, we didn't even really know. We knew how much we wanted to do, but we didn't know the way that we wanted to do it. And so, our plan of action came into play, and we really just took a month or two off of just brainstorming and like figuring out exactly what we wanted to do. And I think for anyone that's trying to do something or will take a risk, like it's totally okay to just jump in, and if you fail or if it's like at a point where you're super frustrated and it's not where you want to go, like that's okay, because you're gonna figure it out. Just keep pushing forward.
I think with that, a good constant to think about is when you're taking those chances and when you're failing, are you a good person? Like, are you failing because you're doing things that are just slimy?
Mm-hmm.
Are you screwing people over? Are you just trying to put yourself out there? Because personally, I go through, I don't know how many thousands of pictures and videos a day of things where I'm like, that's goofy,
Mm-hmm.
that's stupid. I can't think of I can't remember it. I don't know. If somebody does something and then fail, like, it's already out of my head, and it's already out of everyone's head. It's just like I know we can both get hung up in, oh my God, what are people gonna think? They've already forgotten about us because they're worried about their lives. It's like it doesn't matter, but the more we do it, the more we could grow, and the more we grow, the more of an impact we have on people, and that's when it starts to impact us. Like,
it's like this paradox too. It's like you think everyone's gonna care and no one actually cares, and so like you don't start because you think everyone's caring, but no one even does, and the second you do start, no one even cares, and so then it like fuels you even more, and then the second you want to start making an impact, it's like still no one's really caring, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, people care. But there's so many times where like, dude, what, like it's a long road ahead of us, and it doesn't seem like what are we doing here? At some points it's just like a lot of banging our heads against the wall, and but we had that bigger vision. I think that's something that is key, is if you do have some sort of mission or some sort of like gut feeling inside you that you want to do something, like don't ever stop.
I think, touching on what you said about the vision, like, if we were just doing this for the money, I would have quit a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's this it sounds so cliche, but like it's this overwhelming feeling that we have to. It feels like a mission. Because we've seen the micro impacts we've had on people. Even like it's like one person saying one thing that we helped them. It's like, I get it. That's it. Like, I'll wake up early because that was the best thing ever. Like,
yeah.
Of course, we have massive plans for this company, but if it was just for the money, we wouldn't have made it this far.
Absolutely.
And there's been so many little ventures that we've done in the past, and this and that, and like, I'm very blessed for the other opportunities that we both have right now to help fund everything. But the money itself is so fucking boring, and it fades. Like,
oh yeah.
Like I often think, all right, let's say I was filthy rich and I had $5 billion, but I didn't have anything I loved in my life. That would be horrible.
Horrible.
And if I had all of the right, like, because we have the best group of friends and the best families, and we're so grateful for that. Also work to maintain those relationships. I'm sorry to my friends that I haven't been hanging out as much lately.
Yeah.
I'm working on my time management. Apologize. But those relationships and having something that you get excited to work for, like, I wouldn't trade this for anything. Maybe I'd add on a little bit more.
Yeah.
But wouldn't trade it. It's got to be about something that you deeply care about. And going back to what we've kind of been touching on is like, you don't know what you care about until you know what you don't give a fuck about.
Yeah. Yeah, and you don't know what you don't know what you care about, not only till you don't know what you don't give a fuck about, but till you just try things.
Yeah.
I think it's like, Gary Vee he has like
Content.
Good and bad qualities, and I love Gary Vee, and I think that he's like very inspirational. I think that one thing he does say that resonates is like, try everything. Like, you have nothing to lose. Find what you do like, what you don't like, and then, double down on what you do like. And I think that's something that we leaned in on. It's like, we liked yoga. We had this idea of this, this product, and we just leaned in on it. And we were like, okay, cool. Okay, what are the benefits? What do we want out of yoga? What kind of community do we want to drive? What kind of purpose do we want to have? What is a mission? And that in itself got bigger than the product. So we had to backfill and think about, how do we reach this bigger mission and purpose and thing that we have found through trial and error. Could have been anything. We could have started any product. We could have, we both do, a couple other businesses, and it's like, that is still an extremely, extremely important part, and still have an amazing passion for that. But this is different. It's something that is going to truly change lives, and whether that's one or two or three, hopefully. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I think you really hit a good point too. It really doesn't matter what like, we could have started with like an ergonomic toothbrush. Like, whatever it is, we've always since high school thought, how can we make this bigger? How can we make this more of a community? How could we do more? And of course, this just lines up, because this is all about community. This is all about getting better, humility, building better habits. So we finally, through trial and error and just always having that deep-seated belief that we wanted to do more, found that alignment. And all right, now that the pieces are here, let's start building above that. It's just wild to think, like, and if I'm being fully honest, like, I'm excited today, but I'm almost not. Two reasons. One, I'm bad at being present. Like, I'm not fully appreciating the moment of what just happened. The other is, I'm so focused on, how could we do more of this? How could we, like, now the real work begins.
Yeah.
Of, like, not to take away from the work we've done, but like, now it really begins. How can we really build our message without being cookie cutter?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's excitement, but it's almost nerves too. It's, the second we press go on that post and take the password off the website, and all of the hours and hours and weeks and months and year that we just spent
We're working
on
on
this.
Like 40 years.
45 years, and I can't believe we're not bigger. But yeah, it's like, all right, yeah, here we go. Like, we officially cannot stop, and I know we're not going to and never wanted to ever stop, but it's like, all right, like, if we do end up not keep pushing through, that's when you get that ego check, like, that we fail, and we can't fail. You absolutely can fail to grow, but this is more of like there's no option of failing. So I think we've had this long time coming of like launching, and it's always been, what else can we do to craft the vision, the message, and things, didn't, a lot of things fell through here and there with partners and manufacturers and all this stuff, and
all worked out for the better.
It all worked out for the better. Every door that closed ultimately led to one opening that was even better. So,
yeah. I think in a lot of those moments where we had to pivot, really, I think those were the moments where we grew the most. Because I think previous versions of me, I won't speak.
Would have quit. Yeah,
absolutely would have quit. We wouldn't have just pivoted. And it tests you in so many ways, and you always hear that too. Adversity is a test, but it is. And sometimes it's a test to say, like, maybe I don't like this as much as I thought I did.
Yeah.
But for this, like, there have been a million times where I've thought about quitting, but it's never because I didn't believe in it. It's because I was, like, tired and in a pissy mood. But, like, I think it's also becoming aware of, like, which voice am I listening to? Has it just been a rough day and I'm in a bad mood? Yeah. My ego's getting me, fuck this, fuck that. And then you take a step back and you breathe and you revamp, and you're like, no, I 100% with everything in my soul believe in this.
Yeah.
I'm just being a little bit of a priss right now. Or there's times when you go, not with this, but you might look yourself in the mirror and go, I don't like what I'm doing. I
Yeah.
don't believe in this. This isn't me. And with how much I hate this, I should do something else.
Yeah, and I think you build to that point though, because like where you're, like what you said is previously we might have, bailed if when time got tough, right? But it's understanding yourself and knowing, okay, these are just my emotions. These are just my like defense mechanisms for things getting tough right now, right? Like on any given moment, like Cheeto Lee or
R.I.P.
our RIP. Really sad story, but
He
our
didn't
yeah,
die. He didn't die.
he didn't
He
die.
didn't die.
It was business died, but our original tote towel embroiderer slash partner, when he just called and was like, yeah, like we're going out of business. It wasn't, oh, okay, well, I guess we're just gonna postpone. It was, all right, pivot instantly. Who do we know?
Yeah.
How can we reach out to people? Who can we call? Like, and the same day, we got people lined up, and it's just like not making excuses, right? I think the excuses come when you don't have that confidence in like your vision and your mission. And if you are and you have a real purpose on like what you want to do, you won't let anything stop you.
I think going on excuses, it's such an easy route. And I'll speak from all the experience. I've lived a life filled with excuses, and it's ego, right?
It's all ego.
If
Yeah.
you can blame your failure on something else, you didn't fail.
Yeah.
But to not make the excuse and try and fail, well, that's on you, and that hurts. That's way more honorable. That's way better, but that really hurts. And touching on the whole concept of us pivoting, that was powerful because there wasn't a moment of, oh my God, how are we going to do this? It's like, oh God, whatever. You ran, like, how did you go out of business? Sorry that happened. Who do we go to now? And that subtle shift, it's like that conditioned response of, if you put your hand on a stove, you go, I need to take that off. And if something happens that isn't ideal for our business, all right, what's the next move? Rather than, oh my God, oh geez, oh God.
Yeah, I mean that's just life too. It's like you can't just like wallow in your situation. Like you are the only one that can control what happens next. And I think that's one of the biggest things we need to like, encourage people is you're in control of, not all the time, but most of the time you're in control of your given situation. Granted, there's situations that are, very unfortunate where
Earthquakes.
China, COVID. No, but like, um, where like you can't control things, but a lot of the times you can control things. And so I think to that point, it's taking ownership, taking accountability, and just sucking it up and just taking action.
Yeah. It's like everything we chat about, it all compounds in itself. And I don't know if there's one best sequential order for how you stack it, because everyone comes from a different background. You have different experiences. Someone might need to work more on awareness, or somebody needs to work more in action. And whatever this whole sphere of personality resides in, everyone's on a different path, but it comes down to just being a little bit more aware. Like, kind of hits me right now how much thought we have put into our slogans, but like, discover who you are, become aware. That really is where it starts. Like, and Peterson talks about this a lot, but it's like, if you don't have a map, where are you going? Oh, I'm just going to start doing things. All right, and that is better than doing nothing, but to what? I'm just going to start walking. Well, that way, how far, till when? Discover who you are by journaling, by meditating, and that's through taking action, knowing who you're not. Like, define who you are, and I think we've kind of chatted about how that's doing things that fuel you, that make you feel alive. But I think that extra level of defining your purpose, I think things that make you feel alive that also have a very positive impact on the world and others. They're altruistic endeavors. Like, I Hitler probably felt very alive when he was doing what he was doing, but I don't know if that's exactly the right kind of purpose. And
Yeah.
I guess that's an extreme version of, I think it's finding what you love that really makes the world better, that genuinely makes the world better from a morality standpoint. And I guess that ties into impact. It's like from discovering who you are, learning how to take those actions, and learning how to weather the storm of life when you're going down that path, you're gonna figure out how to make the world better. And we're still figuring out how to do that. I think that's never ending, but that's what we want to do.
Yeah. I think like on that
Yeah.
point, I think it's like a good lead into maybe just talking about, beyond just what's on the website, like what do we want to do, right? What is our general mission? What are we here to do for people?
You go first.
Let me go first. Yeah, I think that it really, really boils down to taking better care of yourself. It all started for us, that was the pivotal moment of, listen, like, we need to take better care of ourselves. And through taking better care of ourselves, we discovered more of ourselves, like you mentioned. Um, in that process of discovery, journaling, writing things down, figuring out who we are, who we're not, we found more of a purpose. It took my grandfather passing and me reflecting on, what kind of impact he had on people on this earth and the family and friends, and to really figure out, like, what I truly wanted to do. And it's, giving people more of opportunity to be themselves and to thrive in environments. And so, like, that's just an example of, like, through basically just being open and writing things down and uncovering what my demons are and turmoil, that I discovered a deeper purpose for myself. And through that shaped, what origami is. And, I have no doubt that it's going to make that impact. So it really is those, four things of take better care of yourself, whether it's one habit at a time, two, three, four, make them part of your routine, and then discover who you are, you know, I don't know, I guess become that, or get that purpose, a deeper meaning of the purpose, and then from there, you know, make the impact. So,
And I love that. It's like, what does make an impact mean? It can mean a lot of things. It can mean so much, and it doesn't need to be this exact formula. It's more general, and there's a path.
mm-hmm.
And it's so refreshing to hear your story on that also. And it's a tragedy to obviously have your grandfather pass. There is always some seed of inspiration in these moments that it can destroy you, and sometimes you're allowed to be destroyed for a little bit, but it's something where it's like an emotional boot camp. It helps to build you back up, and
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know all the stories like you do for your grandfather, obviously, but from everything I've been told, he was the best,
Mm-hmm.
and he was somebody that did inspire people, and did give people his opportunities, and had that trickle down effect of making a positive impact. And to empower everyone to do that even a little bit, like, we don't all need to take massive steps and change the world. Like, maybe some of us will, but that's not how things change. That's not how society works. That's not how life works.
Yeah.
It's, if all of us just did a little bit, oh my God.
Just one at a time.
Like, imagine one person trying to carry a 5,000-pound weight. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if you're Dwayne Johnson, you're not going to do it. But imagine if 1 million people tried. It'd be the easiest thing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
That's a good
figuring,
point.
like pushing that ego aside and figuring out who you are, because that's where the confidence comes from, and that's when you can be more humble, work more with other people, work towards larger goals. I'm still figuring all that out on my own. A lot of the times that's tough, but I don't have a specific point that I could refer to where this all made sense to me. I think it's always kind of made sense, and when we first started talking about it, I just latched on because it resonated. So maybe that's my origin story. But when I've always been happiest, for one, is having conversations like this, but being able to connect with people, which I don't do as much because I'm normally in my head thinking about other things. But I guess I've always wanted to have a lifestyle where I can have these types of conversations, make these one-on-one impacts, and not have to worry about shit, I should do something else because this is what I want to do. In that light you see in other people when they feel heard, validated, and they get a little inspired, like that is the coolest feeling ever, and figuring out how to do that, how to multiply that for people through this, like that's what gets me so excited.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think it's gonna be different for each person that ends up joining and, you know, becoming a partner in our sense. And I think that's something that's really cool that we're doing is really promoting, you know, content partners and, you know, knowing that we're not the experts in the space, right? You know, we have this experience of how self-care and things have helped us. But we're not the experts, and you know we're the bridge. We're the people that are going to help normalize things and connect them and help it resonate and bring awareness in action and allow people to ultimately get to a place where they're, you know, in their own routine with things and they can deepen their practices and stuff. And if people never get to that point, then that's fine. You know, it's if they are just if their life is dramatically improved through just doing yoga or just journaling, um, or you know meditating, you know, cause them to just calm down their anger management and everything, and that's what changed their life, then we did our job, right? And I think that's I don't know, the biggest thing is there are so many different case studies and use cases and like goals that we're gonna have to like get to. Um, but as long as we're touching people's lives, you know, in different capacities, I think that's just the ultimate goal.
Just touch people,
Just touch people.
not get arrested in the process.
But
Man, I don't
yeah,
know how
this is
much.
good.
I don't know how much more we could chat on without diving into other things that may not be for this video.
Yeah, that's where we go into authentically casual.
Authentically
Can you give them a
casual.
little rundown of like what to expect with origami? Just
I guess so.
I think so.
I think
So, I'll let Aaron touch on a couple of the things, you know, self-care, fruity. Maybe you go into the podcasts. You know, ultimately, obviously, we have products. Um, we are going to be offering resources, things like journals, blogs, podcasts, um, partner content, all the different things that are going to allow people to crawl, walk, and run in self-care. Um, Things for meditation, journaling, yoga, um, better eating habits, just health in general, and things that are going to help your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual state. So we're not just an apparel brand. We are trying to make a larger media company,
we're a cult.
and we're a cult, not a cult culture. But we're trying to just